Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is technical analysis of the stock market today. Today is Saturday, August 16th, 2014. This is the weekend edition. We're going to take a look at the indices like we usually do. We got 2 days of trading to catch up on, and we'll take a look at the weekly charts also on the major indices. And then we'll look at the indicators, the ETFs, and then take a look at Germany to see what it is telling us. Okay, so the Dow was down 50 points, almost 51 points here on Friday. Big outside down day. Volatility, extreme volatility. You know, look at this range. And of course, it was bouncing around on the news. You had the news, it went in the tank when the news that Ukraine attacked a Russian military convoy. And then it's like, well, no, maybe they didn't. And, you know, it's bouncing back. So who knows what's going on. You know, it could be a lot of stuff just hitting the stops, hitting the sell stops, then hitting the buy stops, and just whipping it all over the place. So, but when you look at this trend line, I thought it was kind of interesting that when I extended this trend line out into here, it looks like it just pulled back up to it. Now, we could continue because we're above the 10. We could continue to have buying come in because like we got above the 10 and buying kept coming back. You get above the 10, you got buying coming back, although, you know, you get a couple of downdraft days. And it's consistently done that, like I've talked about before. It gets back above the 10, and it seems to go a little for a while. And so we're just going to have to watch. If this rallies up a little bit, gets back up here above the 55, gets maybe above this trend line slightly, and then closes back below the 10, then we're going to be in for another downswing. And, you know, we just got to watch to see, do we start getting lower lows and lower highs? You know, right now, you know, we're getting a little bit of a lower low in here. But, you know, again, we're just going to have to watch to see, where does this rally go? Does it come all the way back up here, or is it, you know, just kind of peter out after a couple of days? I don't know. We'll have to watch. Now, when you look at the Dow on the weekly basis, the close in here was below this whole set of weeks, about 2, 4, 6, 8 weeks, 2 months worth of trading. We're still closed down below that level. Let's see. S&P 500. The S&P was basically flat after all that volatility. Is basically flat, up or down 0.12 on Friday. Okay, so a similar type of pullback going on in here. Now, even though it broke this trend line, it's back trading a few days above it. We look at the weekly, see if that's showing us not a whole lot more. Not nearly, it didn't sell off nearly to the degree that the Dow is, because you can see where the trading, let me put my little cursor in here. It's closed back in here below the closes of what, about 6 weeks up here. Not nearly the degree of the Dow, but it's back above the 10-week moving average too. Okay, so you know, you look at that and think, well, it doesn't seem to want to roll over. The Nasdaq, though, on the other hand, was stronger. It was the strongest again of the 3 big ones here. The Nasdaq was up almost 12 points for the day, and this looks to me like we got a 5th wave going on. I mean, it looks like we had 1, 2, and then this 3rd wave that extended slightly, then this 4th wave pullback, a little more shallow than the 2nd wave, and I think we're starting out here on a 5th wave. And when I look at and do some Fibonacci projections based on this wave structure, I come up with my first target at 45.35 on the Nasdaq, and my second target, if this breaks, continues to push through this, is 46.65. So those are the 2 targets on Nasdaq, which means that some of the Nasdaq stocks are, you know, if they're in bullish mode and looking bullish, that, you know, you kind of think, well, okay, this is why. I mean, the Nasdaq seems to be telling you it's wanting to push higher. And you look at this on a weekly chart, and look how it really just closed right at the 10. 2 closes right at the 10. And then now we're back. This is the second highest weekly close, I believe, since back in 2000. So here was the record high back on July 4th. And now this is the second highest weekly close. That's pretty strong indication this thing wants to just keep pushing. New York Composite, on the other hand, is back looking more like the Dow. And, you know, this is the broader of, you know, all the indices we got. This is the composite of all the New York Stock Exchange stocks. It looks like this little top in here, you know, we broke down out of it, we pulled back. It may be just pulling back to that support line. And that, of course, should become resistance is what I'm expecting. We'll see. We'll have to watch. It broke that trend line, but it didn't seem to matter a whole lot. Maybe that trend line wasn't as strong. On a weekly basis, it's still closed below the 10-week, so it hasn't closed above the 10-week like the S&P 500 did. Not really, you know, the indicators aren't telling me a whole lot on a weekly basis on the New York. Okay, the Russell 2000. You know, again, this is weak. Look at this, the range on the whippiness on Friday on the Russell 2000. You know, again, it continues to, you know, it started this lower low, lower highs. Now, this isn't a pivot. These two aren't valid pivot points yet until you get a couple more closes. I usually like to see at least two, like if I'm trying to say that this is a pivot point, kind of thing, what I'm calling pivot point, I want to see at least two higher highs that also have a higher high beyond it. So I would say, well, okay, once this bar is in here, I'm thinking, and in the fact that we had this here, then I'm thinking, okay, that's a valid pivot point. And the same thing with this point here, this point here. This point, we don't know yet. I mean, we could continue. Monday could be a higher high, but we'll have to see. So we're just watching for these higher highs and higher lows, and see, you know, how this continues to trend. Let's take a look at the indicators on this. You got some divergence in here, which kind of indicated we might get a bounce, and we did. It didn't show up in the demand in the DI plus. But it did on the RSI, the 10-day RSI. So now we're back up here around 50, which is kind of the middle of the range kind of thing. So we'll just have to see. Right now, that looks kind of bearish to me. Oh, the other thing well, let me finish this, and then I'll come back to something I want to mention. Okay, the weekly basis, again, this is where this looks like a doji bar on a weekly basis, so pretty indecisive type bar. Not closing above the 10. And, you know, again, this has just come off. We're just slightly coming off this trend line. And this is the major trend line, the 5-year trend line, I believe. Let's take a look. Yeah, this is from March 2009. So that's the trend line that we're looking at, that it's very close to breaking down through. Oh, the one point I wanted to mention here that I picked up, and I thought this was kind of interesting. There's a guy on the that puts out some videos on YouTube called his name is Danny Riley, and he's Mr. Top Step is his name, or, you know, screen name, I guess, or code name, whatever you want to call it. It's his website type name too. But he is a trader on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and he's been there for like 37 years. And this guy is just, he's great to watch these little videos because he'll give you some insight. They're about 3 minutes long. You know, he just, one of the things that he was talking about is he's friends with, because Pitbull, Marty Schwartz, has used him for execution of his trades in the pit over the years and years ago. And so they became friends. Well, he talks about how Pitbull has this Thursday, Friday low rule going into expiration. And I thought it's really interesting because it seems to have worked over the last 3 months. And what he's talking about is option expiration. So for August, let me go back. I'm looking at, well, let's look at June. Option expiration in June was on the 20th, okay, Friday the 20th. The Thursday, Friday before that was the 12th and 13th. So here is the 12th and here's the 13th. And what he's saying is he looks for a low on that Thursday, Friday before option expiration week, and looking for it to rally going into option expiration week. And so that's exactly what it did in June. And then when you go to July, let me flip my calendar over and I'll look at July. Option expiration in July was the 18th. So the Thursday, Friday before that was the 10th and 11th. And here's the 10th and 11th. So, you know, we kind of had a low, and we pushed for 4 days going up into option expiration, or for several days, let's put it that way. This is Wednesday, so, you know, I had an update Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then of course it sold off. So you have to be careful, but it's kind of interesting to just see if there is something here. And then when you look at August, option expiration was just yesterday, and that's 15th. So the 7th and 8th. Well, lo and behold, Thursday the 7th was our low. Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, going into option expiration. We got a push. So it's something to watch for, and we'll, you know, as we go into September, we'll have to watch for that, and it may make a difference in terms of, you know, how we're playing some things. So that's one thing I wanted to pass on to you guys, and thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's see. Let's take a look at short-term trading index. It's neutral, not telling us anything on an extreme. The VIX, where is it? No. CBOE, here it is. VIX. The VIX, we got a pretty good bounce, but again, that's that wild volatility that was going on, but it did have an up day in here. It's hard to tell what may be going on. This may have pulled back enough. We'll have to watch. I mean, it's, you know, it's all I could tell you is it's pulled back down. I mean, it's not giving me anything else to, you know, hang my hat on. High-low index is pulled back, and my mouse locked up on me. And it's, you know, pulled back up to 95 more new highs than new lows for the day, even though we had a down day. So that's showing signs of strength, even though the Dow was down 50 some points. Okay, let's take a look at the semiconductors. Semiconductors are back rallying here over the last week, looking strongly, although that doesn't look, these last 2 days don't look like super strong bullish days to me. The home builders, where is it? There it is. Okay, this had a big, kind of similar to the market, although it wasn't an outside down, but a big reversal type day, came back down here. And this could be just, it looks like we're getting, you know, one kind of an A, B, C, 2, sharp 3, and a fourth pullback. We'll have to see if it continues to go above the low here, then that's not going to be the scenario. But, you know, the fact is it's gotten pretty low here. 55 is breaking below the 233. So this thing is starting to break down some, and we'll have to watch to see if it continues to do that. As right now it's in breakdown mode. I mean, we're getting lower low and lower low. And the last one that we'll take a look at is the financial ETF. And this was a big reversal day on Friday. You know, so big outside down day in here. You know, we're just going to have, we get a close back below the 10. This thing could be, you know, heading back down to take out these lows. You know, it came back through this, you know, what should have been some resistance, you know, but so that was kind of strong. And, you know, this may have just been a pullback to that, but I don't know. And this looks kind of negative for a 1 day. I mean, looking at a 1 day view of something, it looks pretty negative. All right, the last thing we're going to take a look at right now is the German Dax Index, and you can see that the German Dax Index has fallen off dramatically. We looked at this last week, so when was that? The 9th, or so the last trading day would have been the 15th. No, 8th. What am I doing? I'm looking at the calendar wrong. Okay, so a week ago we looked at this, and Germany has bounced here in the last week. But then look at this, talk about an outside down, outside double down reversal. You know, it closed below the low of the last 2 days. So pretty strong reversal bar on Friday. Of course, Europe closes at 10:30 in the morning Central Time. So, you know, I'm not sure what happened, you know, after that. And this could have been right at the peak of all the negative news coming out of the Ukraine. I don't know. But the one thing that kind of caught my eye is how far below the 233-day moving average Germany is. You know, now we don't have the 55 below the 233 yet, but if you go back to the U.S. market, let's look at the Dow. The Dow's not even close to even being below the 200. The S&Ps, now again, look how far above the 200, and I'm talking 233 on my chart, and the Nasdaq too. So, you know, Germany has really broken down dramatically, and we'll see. I mean, in 2007, 2008, Germany didn't confirm the high in October of 2007 and then rolled over very sharply at the beginning of 2008. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. Okay, that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with trade ideas. We'll look at what happened with our trade ideas from last week, and do I see any new trade ideas for this coming week. I mean, I think I'm currently in 6, so that's quite a few. We had 7, and that gets to where that's about the peak I really want to have out there in terms of the number of trade ideas at any one given time. So we'll have to see if there's anything really attractive that develops, and we'll go from there. So if you found this video helpful, please share it on social media. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Just click on the little red box, download the PDF, and if you're watching this anywhere else but my website, head on over to the website, check out the posts, and the other stuff that we got going on the website. We're starting to get some good engagement, people making comments, so that's all great. So, all right, this has been Joe for Beyond the Chart. Have a great weekend, everyone.